Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and it's good to see you all here today. So, we have been discussing the Tenzo Kyokan, a work of Dogen, Instructions to the Cook. He composed this basing it to some degree on prior writings from China about regulations for monasteries. But he incorporated in it a wide range of his own thoughts, largely about the character, the attitude, the spirit of being a cook in the monastery. So we talked previously about how there were a couple occasions where he met a tenzo, where there were several occasions where he met tenzos or cooks, head cooks from monasteries in China, and what a profound effect it had on him, and how much differently they seemed to function compared with what he was experiencing in his own country of Japan. And he thought this was extremely important. So the remainder of the text that we'll be talking about really has to do with this discussion of the spirit of being a cook. I'll read a short passage. The three aspects of this attitude are to see that working for the benefit of others benefits oneself, to understand that through making every effort for the prosperity of the community, one revitalizes one's own character, and to know that endeavoring to succeed and to surpass the patriarchs of past generations means to learn from their lives and to value their examples. Be very clear about this. A fool sees himself as another, but a wise person sees others as themselves. So he's expressing in this passage, he's advocating a spirit of openness, of willingness to learn, a willingness to honor the examples of those who have excelled in the past and have things to teach us. And also, he's talking about the spirit of working for the benefit of the community, working for the benefit of all. And this sounds very similar to the Bodhisattva vow. The Bodhisattva ideal is to work for awakening, opening one's mind, so that one can be of benefit to others, can assist them in opening their minds, awakening. And he concludes with this: a fool sees himself or herself as another, but a wise person sees others as themselves, which is more or less a restatement of the Golden Rule, which is advice that is really across all religious traditions. So the next sections of the Tenzo Kyoken move into what can be called the three minds, or in Japanese, sanshin. And this is probably the best known section of the work. There is a Zen Buddhist community in Bloomington, Indiana, called Sanshin Zen Community, after this section of the Tenzo Kyoken. Most succinctly translated as the three minds. So Dogen goes on a bit further. Actually, when working in any position of responsibility, not only as a cook, but as any officer or assistant, strive to maintain a spirit of joy and magnanimity, along with the caring attitude of a parent. Magnanimity is a hard word to say, but we'll get to that later. And we'll talk mostly today about this, what is translated here as a spirit of joy. From my very first reading of this years ago, I've always had trouble with this joyful mind, one of the three minds, joyful mind. What does joyful mind really mean? It brings, in my mind anyway, talking about joy, and maybe this is just my peculiar mind, but, you know, it brings up sort of smiles and bubbles and balloons and cake, sort of an excitedness, an excited energy. With a smile. So I looked up the Japanese characters from which joyful mind are translated. And it's ki-shin, ki-shin, K-I-S-H-I-N. And these are two distinct characters, either one of which does not have a obvious English translation. Either one of which is somewhat unfamiliar in Western culture, so we don't have a single word for it. And in fact, it's even hard to describe if we use many words. So what do these characters mean? Well, I'll offer my best attempt, readily admitting I'm not a scholar of medieval Japanese. But ki, I find, is the same character, the same concept anyway. Characters slightly different in Chinese and Japanese. But the concept is the same as qi in China, of Chinese medicine. And some of you may be familiar with that notion of qi, which is a kind of life energy, an all-pervasive life energy that moves through us, but also moves through the earth and the heavens, We don't have a concept like that in the West. At least, I'm not familiar with it. So, this ki has that same origin as the qi of Chinese medicine and of martial arts. Some of you may be familiar with qigong, which is cultivating qi, moving qi through the body, removing obstructions to qi. The Japanese took this concept and really kind of magnified it in their culture. And it appears in many, many places, even in the usual way of saying, "How are you?" which incorporates the character ki. So literally it means something along the lines of, are you with ki? Are you with ki? Is ki moving through you? Are you feeling healthy? Do you have well-being? Is your life force active? So that's the ki. And then there's shin, which we've talked about before, often translated as mind, sometimes translated as heart-mind, because it refers to more than just cognition. It also takes in the emotions, just the general state of being, the heart-mind. So one way of looking at this ki-shin would be a heart-mind that allows the life force to pass through freely. Ki-shin. So with that in mind, I'll read a little section. A joyful spirit, and this is a translation of ki-shin, is one of gratefulness and buoyancy. You should consider this carefully. If you had been born into some heavenly realm, you would most likely have only become attached to the pleasures of that realm, taking neither time nor opportunity, nor awakening the Bodhi spirit, nor would you would be likely to feel any particular necessity for practicing the Buddha Dharma. And in the following page, Dogen continues this thread of talking about, well, if you had been born this way or if you had been born that way, you would not have the opportunity of this human life to be aware, to awaken, to transform. You would not have this unique opportunity. Traditionally, as some of you may know, in Buddhist cosmology, there is the notion of the six realms of existence. And in that passage I read, they refer to the heavenly realm. And that's where the devas live. And to be a deva is to be one who is really exposed to no adversity. Everything is pleasurable. You have just unlimited sources of pleasantness around you. But you have no motivation to really strive for anything because everything is so pleasant. That's the heavenly realm. And then there's the human realm, which we're familiar with. I don't need to tell you what it's like to be a human. But there are 4 other realms. And these realms can be viewed as, well, they can be viewed literally, of course, and I'm sure some people do view them literally as places that you might end up based on your karma in a future life, for instance. Or they can be viewed metaphorically as realms that we pass through regularly in the course of the day, in the course of the year, due to causes and conditions and due to our past programming or conditioning. But the other realms, the other 4 realms, one is the animal realm. Now, they had kind of a biased view or prejudiced view about what it would be like to be an animal. They thought it was all instinctual activity, that they were all just sort of stimulus response machines. I personally think animals are a lot more complicated than that, and we don't know how they perceive the world and what's going on in their minds. But nonetheless, the animal realm is supposed to be a realm where you're just sort of bound to instinct and can't really improve yourself. You're just constantly reacting. And then there's the realm of hungry ghosts. The realm of hungry ghosts that have, and in this realm, to be a hungry ghost is to have an immense stomach but a very narrow neck, so that you can hardly swallow anything except you have this tremendous appetite. And this is sort of equated with the realm of addiction, the realm of constant wanting, the realm of never being satisfied. And then there is the realm of what are called the asuras, sometimes called the demons, the realm of those who experience constant jealousy, who constantly compete to be on top, who constantly want to conquer everything around them, who can never be satisfied with what they have. Who have just an aggressive nature. And then there's what is called the hell realm, which is keeping in mind that in Buddhism, none of these realms are permanent. You can always, have an opportunity to get out at next time around. But in the hell realm, everything is so miserable that you just can't really move. That you're just stuck in misery. I was on the food pantry truck. We visit various stores, and we visited a store this past week where the manager has gotten to know us fairly well. And she was talking bitterly about her life, how she just hated her work and hated her boss and just really despised the customers. Literally, she was saying these things because they were treating her so rudely. They were making such demands upon her, unreasonable demands, that she would come home from work exhausted and unable to take pleasure in anything. I picture this as the hell realm, On the bright side, she said she was looking for another job, which I hope helps. But, so there are these realms, and of all of these realms, of all these 6 realms, the only one where one is capable of enlightenment or awakening or really coming to some sort of awareness of one's self-nature is in the human realm. So Dogen is talking about how grateful we should be to be born in the human realm. He concludes discussion of ki-shin with this passage, considering the innumerable possibilities in a timeless universe. We have been given a marvelous opportunity. The merit of working as a tenzo will never decay. My sincerest desire is that you exhaust all the strength and effort of your lives, past, present, and future, and every moment of every day into your practice through the work of a tenzo. Practice through the work of a tenzo, so that you may form a strong connection with the Buddha Dharma. To view all things with this attitude is called ki-shin, or, as Tom Wright translates it, joyful mind. So, I guess the reason I had some difficulty with this notion of joyful mind is because I have sort of perhaps an immature notion of joy. And that some of the most seasoned and, to my way of thinking, the most respected practitioners of Zen Buddhism oftentimes don't come across as what I would call joyful. They might be rather somber people. But they do have a steadiness about them, a stability. Something more like a mountain than like a birthday cake. So, getting into the origin of the etymology of ki-shin was helpful to me, and I wanted to share that with you. And we'll talk more about the 2 other minds in the future. So, what to you is joyful mind? What is ki-shin? Do you know people who demonstrate this, who are examples? Do you experience it yourself, at least at times? We'll stop there with those questions and go into breakout rooms. Thank you very much for listening today.